Alrighty. We'll start off with a quick intro from Liam, and also maybe I can give a summary of everybody joining. Go ahead, Liam, please.
Sure. My name is Liam Randall. I currently am the CEO over at Cosmonic, where we have built a platform around CNCF WASM Cloud. I'm the co-creator of CNCF WASM Cloud, which I made while I was at Capital One. When I was at Capital One, I worked on innovation and did things like work with Capil to put Cloud Custodian in the CNCF, another project I think folks are familiar with. I did the seed for OS Query, Horizon 3 AI, and I did the very first commercial Kubernetes company in 2014. So I've been around cloud native for a while. And I'm on today to talk a little bit about WASM Cloud 2.0 and the Kubernetes native integration that we're releasing and how it could collaborate with the CNOE platform.
Great. So this is a SIG chapter for agentic AI. So we'll primarily cover the SIG agentic AI infrastructure and what we're doing there. And maybe we'll move this up the agenda so that you can cover what you're looking for. And then we'll also share maybe go through a couple of these things. And then I think Gaurav, who he said he'll join at the last 15 minutes. Then we can cover the agent core. This is agent core demo. We can move that to the last and then review the roadmap. Go ahead.
I just have one question. I think I missed the last meeting. So Liam, any thoughts on your goal on this and why you're here today? Also, you're a CNCF ambassador. You forgot about that.
Yes. Also,
you listed 20 things in your resume. You
creator of CNCF WASM Day and WASMCon and lots of other things as well. Ultimately, all around open source. Today, what I'm going to demonstrate is sandboxing for agentic agents and the fit. So the intersection is that there are some new agentic specific risks that I'd like to talk about. And we actually had a whole bunch of people in our community start picking up CNCF WASM Cloud for this. So now we've even created like a wizard that'll auto-generate MCP servers for you. So I'll go through that. And I think it's sort of a good fit in an intersection with this community because it's very tactical on the how do you get the stuff up and running at scale. And this just brings WebAssembly's unique power to it. So I thought I'd start with maybe like 0 to 60 with WebAssembly, like one or 2 minutes on just like what is WASM. I think most people have a good idea. Then how are we collaborating, putting it into Kubernetes, show compatibility with all the things, and then show like some MCP use cases and things like that. Does that make sense? Does that maybe line up the fit a little better?
Yeah, thank you. And welcome.
Yeah, welcome to this meeting. I think it may be helpful to set the stage with going through the workshop demo and generally where things are headed with the CAPE project. Then we can go to the WASM Cloud and go through Argo CD updates. So just level setting here. So we've branded the project name as CAPE, Community AI Platform Engineering. It's easy to kind of rally towards the name. So we want to thank our marketing team to kind of go through and put a brand around it. So we can use this and they've created some fave icons and logos all with GenAI, but they've been very helpful branding this. So we want to thank them for helping with that. Go ahead, Carlos.
So did we took any action items on this website to make it accessible? I want to share it, and recently I shared it with 2 people, and I struggled to go from canoe.io and click on the GitHub repos to find this website, which is awesome, to send a direct link to folks.
Yeah, so haven't taken any direct action. Need to work with Pankaj on understanding like how do we link to the canoe or do a subdomain. We have a workshop this week where we have like linked to this repo. So if we have an internal Cisco workshop where we are onboarding few Cisco engineers
Oh, cool.
onto Cape. So I want to talk about that, how Stefan here, who in his past life did a like a demo platform. We're using that demo platform. Let me see if I can bring that up here.
Okay,
So
but just for the website, the action item could be just a work item in the roadmap, like on the backlog, and then it's a matter of working on the issue async.
yeah,
Right?
that's good call out. Let me well, as you mentioned that, let me just go ahead and create an issue here.
You don't have to. You have to
Yeah,
spend the time now, right? You can just
yep,
take it offline as an
yep.
action.
So
I'll record the action item as
yeah,
well
if you
in
can
in the
create an
agenda.
action item, Carlos, that would be great. I think we need to get together with Pankaj, and I'll
Yeah,
coordinate a small
it's
session.
just like we're working on it, right? People ask. Yeah.
Yeah, and Hasid had a thought about cape.io. We went and squatted on the domain so that we don't lose it. So we procured the domain in our
Good
AWS
idea.
account
Actually,
so
clever.
that we don't lose it now that the name is out. But a redirect from that to the Canoe subdomain or wherever it goes could also be a good idea. Just for real brief for Liam and others. So what CAPE is, and this is what we've been ruminating on the mission statement. It's an open source multi-agent system championed by Canoe, and provides a secure, scalable, persona-driven implementation with RAG workflows. And then it mainly the key here is it integrates with IDP portals and environments like VS Code, and you should also do ... QCLI and others for frictionless adoption and extensibility. So that's the mission. This is just so that we attract people with this. This can be as flexible as it can be. In terms of what we're doing in demo platform, I wanted to show this. So what we're doing inside Cisco is to kind of raise awareness around CAPE, and we want to externalize this once we validate this. Is, hey, what's the mission of CAPE? What are some things you can do? We took this and put together like a platform where people can start on board, clone the repo. They can. So this is a platform that Stefan created in a previous life. Go ahead, Hasid, if you want to share anything.
You know, just to give a bit of context here, the idea here was to do a internal workshop and kind of learn from it, and then convert it to external. So what we have, the problem we have at Cisco is things are very fragmented. So there's a lot of platforms involved, and the idea was to try and get use this open source play and make awareness on different views to see how they can leverage. So we are learning internally, and then idea would be to elevate it to open source and externally as well. So that's what you're trying to do this Wednesday. Go ahead, Sri.
Yeah, I think that's the idea, is to learn from those things and kind of just even level set how agents are built. Like even at a 100,000 abstraction view, we took our pet store agents, we have the weather agent to get started on it. And in some cases, we actually internally hosted those mock servers. You can run this in standard IO mode. So this platform allows you to like execute commands and things like that. So the RAG agent is integrated, so you can run a RAG agent, it'll then index the Cape Docs website. I think ultimately we want to take this to a public workshop and maybe a hackathon, and this also showcases how you can run the whole Cape with IDP Builder, run all the agents, and that's, how do you set up tracing with LangFuse? In some cases, because we didn't want users to bring up the whole LangFuse and do a bunch of manual steps. Here, in this case, we've hosted one so that they can immediately get started on it. Yeah, I think there are few things that the workshop is Wednesday. We'll learn a lot from this, hoping to share our learnings. And also, the other mission is to get more people engaged in the community, both from Cisco and when we do this externally, and get more like visibility via stars and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a brief intro on what we are trying to do with
I have
this
a question on this.
Yeah.
So I'm still a little bit lost on, maybe you captured this at the beginning. So this is so great idea of having a workshop that people can execute. This content doesn't have anything specific to Cisco, right? So it's an open source project, right? All the things that we have in the project for people to do hands exercise. My question was, um, what's the intention or the goal of this workshop? Is this a workshop that Cisco is planning to host, like Killer Coda, so people have instances, or this is something that you want to move into GitHub, and then I can take it and I can put it in Workshop Studio in AWS and run EC2 machines to run it? I'm not sure what's the end goal with this workshop. Like,
Carlos, the end goal is definitely to have something external. So this is basically trying to learn in a small forum. The idea was, so we are from the incubation unit, right? And we have several other BUs and other groups who we want to kind of like get awareness around this project. So that's why we kind of like created a series of exercises and a lab with the tools that we could kind of leverage, and the idea is to then elevate it to open source. So definitely, if there are ideas on it, I think we are not really tied to any specific tool or anything that we've used. So if there are other types of ideas, and like if you want to kind of like, if something else makes sense, we can definitely refactor and evolve that. That's more suitable for external.
yeah. So when you're
we are
ready
kind of
when you're ready to put it in open source and discuss it, we can do that. My question was more on, like the content and the exercises. You're saying it's going to be external. It was more on like the cost of the compute to run this thing, right? Who's going to pay? Cisco's going to pay. Either's going to pay, or do we put it in Killer Coda as a free exercise that we do with Workshop Studio? And there's a kind cluster, and there's a system on Killer Coda that was the one that was like before, it was called Kata Coda. That you put your markdown files in a certain way, and automatically spins up a kind cluster, and you do the exercises, and then you do like, if you're familiar with that system or not. So I was more on the cost side.
not familiar with it. In fact, I mean, for the current workshop, internally we'll be spinning up 100 or so machines, and yeah, the cost will be like on us for that instance at least. But yeah, it'll be nice to have a better strategy for sure.
Yeah. And then for otherwise, right, I can have one that is something that runs on EC2 or related to EKS. But I think this is the free version. I can give you the link. I'll put it in the agenda. There's something called Killer Coda.
Yeah.
That there's CK exercises, CKS exercises. Community can put their own scenarios, and then people can use the free freemium access for certain hours, and they can do these labs. And it's a kind cluster, and it's a matter of writing the markdown files in a way that can be executed with certain tags in that system, right? So that's one of the options that I didn't know what was the outcome of this. That if you put this externally, then what will be the instructions of like, yes, there's a prereq to set up a computer with a terminal or VS Code. It could be a VS Code. In AWS, we do VS Code terminal. We deploy a VM. We install VS Code server, and then people access that VS Code, and you have the terminal, and they can execute the workshops. That's how we do AWS workshops. But anyway, this is a good idea. Let's follow up.
the script is completely in Markdown. I think because of the way this platform is internal, I think
Yeah,
the idea you have,
I
Carlos,
understand.
is great. We just need to sanitize this and open source. Very, very minimal
Yeah, the
changes.
core, and then we put the adapters for extensions to run in different places, right?
Yep. And yeah, I think just wanted to share this so we can, I think, then use the platform you mentioned to basically open source, and then eventually, we can schedule a community workshop and hackathon on this. Real quick, while I have the screen share, I'll share this and we can go to Liam. So there were several fixes that went in to Argo CD uh, agent MCP server. Thank you, Satish, for highlighting some of those things that didn't work with Bedrock models. So there is also a target called Make Argo CD Sanity, so which basically goes and executes a whole bunch of tests, prompts basically from that agent card. So I have some of the folks kind of intern who is still working with us. So he'll go through a bunch of these MCP servers and make sure that they have a sanity test. We are part of the Backstage, joined the Backstage community. Backstage released their MCP server as of 140. So we can basically stop using like our hosted MCP server and just use the remote MCP. So that's a change that will be underway. We're already using remote MCP for GitHub. As we see remote MCPs come up, we should start migrating to the remote MCP. The only caveat with Argo CD is Satish and I, we were discussing the Acuity MCP server for Argo CD is not as feature rich as ours. So maybe, Carlos, if you can arrange a meeting with Acuity, we could find a pathway where maybe we can upstream our code basically, or find a way to contribute to a single like official MCP.
Take into account that the Acuity one is written in TypeScript.
That's true. Yeah.
Go ahead, Liam.
Go ahead.
Taylor Thomas over there might be a good person to reach out to. I can cross connect you if you don't know him, but he's at Acuity now. He was on my team for a couple of years in WebAssembly, but he's a phenomenal guy, and I know he's actually working on the MCP space right now.
Okay, that would be great. What we've noticed is they have few tools written in TypeScript. Although for a remote MCP, it may not matter if we host it. Ideally, if the MCP comes with the platform in Argo CD, that's even better. So nobody has to host.
I think that's the end goal. So I can set up something with Hong, Christian, and the crowd. I know the creative folks. It's just I'll follow up with you three and Satish on like if we're going to ask for a meeting, it will be for us to show them like here's an analysis of the two ones, and then show them the value of ours, and then discuss that also our plan that we plan to do for ArgoCon, right? Our talk is around having in Argo Labs something that we can generate all Argo MCP, not just CD, but workflows, events, rollouts with this generation tool, and no humans have to type a lot of code.
Correct. Yep, that would be ideal. So that's where it is, and again, we have investment there to get the version of Argo CD we have to be at a good on par with running LAR tools. So covering those updates, I think the others, I can touch on the agent gateway later. So Liam, the floor is yours if you want to.
Yeah, great. My name is Liam. I work on WebAssembly and all things Wasm Cloud, and we've been working on a way to make this work, the WebAssembly work better inside the cloud native ecosystem with a new operator and a new CRD. It'll be coming out with Wasm Cloud 2.0. And I thought I'd start with maybe 2 minutes about Wasm Cloud or WebAssembly. Then we'll talk about the operator and the CRD and what does it enable, compatibility with Argo, Backstage, all that kind of stuff. Then we'll actually look at a demo, and the demo will be an MCP server compiled to WASM and the advantages of that. So WebAssembly, if you aren't deeply familiar with it, really helps to address these sort of 5 problems that are inherent in all containerized platforms. Containers, deploy on a monolith called POSIX. So frequently when they're exploited, you'll come in via log4j and leave via sockets or something like that. Containers, even highly optimized ones on Lambda and Knative, suffer from the high cost of cold starts, which means that if we want our network services to be available, the containers need to be running, which means that even at the end of 2024, Datadog reported enterprises struggled to hit 19% average utilization. They're often bloated, so we can run dozens or hundreds per Kubernetes node. When we build them, we can pile in a snapshot of all software in the way it is at that time. And that means that teams are maintaining these, one at a time. And you'll end up in a world where 5,000 teams each patch the same vulnerability one time. WebAssembly has been designed to really help to solve these problems. Essentially what we're doing here underneath the hood is first, when you build a WebAssembly interface, you use a highly structured interface. So what comes into this piece of software and what goes out. So we can automatically create a capability-driven sandbox. Capabilities are just the things that your software is allowed to do. So for example, in your browser, a web page might have access to a microphone, or on an iPhone app, you might say this app wants access to your contacts. But imagine if all of POSIX, your system calls, were each a separate microservice. That's what WebAssembly is doing underneath the hood. They're very small, typically kilobytes or a small number of megabytes, so they can be started instantly. So you can get a written network request, start up, answer, and then shut back down. They're very tiny, so even on my MacBook, I can run 100,000, and they can be composed at runtime. So when they start up, we can put them back together. So we can end up in this world where one small team can maintain 5,000 apps at once. I did demos of all this in a KubeCon talk at the last KubeCon with CNCF Wasm Cloud and Knative and Kubernetes. I'll link that in the notes. So what is WebAssembly really under the hood? It's basically an output target. It's a different way to compile your apps. And we make a little module that then runs in a WebAssembly runtime. Now, there are many popular WebAssembly runtimes out there. We're using WebAssembly right now. It makes these little filters in the background. Google Docs runs in WebAssembly. Amazon Prime Video runs in WebAssembly. Cloudflare Workers is WebAssembly. So is Fastly. So as technology, it's grown very quickly. And many people will simply just use Chrome or headless Chrome as their host. That's what Cloudflare does. We work on a runtime called Wasm Time that's open source and in a different foundation called the Bytecode Alliance. And we put it inside of CNCF Wasm Cloud, which is incubating. And when we compile these WebAssembly modules down, I mentioned those interfaces. What that lets us do is connect code together, even if it's compiled in different languages. Well, you can do that today by spinning up two containers and setting up web servers and serializing the data. And there's a lot of overhead. So WebAssembly makes this go very fast with separate sandbox, separate stack-based virtual machines, and this all happens within a process. So it's like Lego blocks, but for code. So WebAssembly's been around for a while, and there's lots of different ways to get it running on Kubernetes. The sort of vision here has been, we want to move from this container-only world to a world where containers and WebAssembly can work better together. And this is what we've been building out with a number of customers over the last year, and we're putting it into Wasm Cloud 2.0, which is under development now. I'll link into the notes the weekly meeting where we go through the release notes and the roadmap for the quarter. But essentially what it enables is this. Underneath the hood, it just configures a single multi-tenant Wasm Cloud host that uses the concept of namespaces as a logical boundary. Namespaces in Kubernetes are free. They don't take up any resources until you put a CRD inside them. And then these namespaces can scale to 0, meaning that for problems like agentic workflows, where we're thinking through new security challenges about how are we going to lock down this software, we suddenly now have a new tiny sandbox that we can use. So in conjunction with this, we're also releasing a wizard that will take an open API and create MCP servers and clients for you in TypeScript and Rust. Future languages are planned. But essentially what we're addressing here is the common challenges of it supports OAuth and logging, but these tiny little sandboxes really come into play when we're thinking about how do we secure against things like LLM prompt injection or data exfiltration. And in our ecosystem, we have a number of large Fortune 100s, 500s that are adopting this as their sandbox technology for remote execution. Let me pause, and then we'll go in and actually we'll show you a demo. Any questions?
Just a quick one. You said WASM 2.0 it will be released soon. When? And it will have new set of CRD and controllers and this agentic MCP stuff. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. Yes, the operator is already out in the repo, and WASM Cloud 2.0 I think was just a beta released. So we should hit GA sometime here in September. Certainly with a big to do, we'll be talking about this up into the build up through KubeCon.
Okay.
WASM Cloud 2 is now more pluggable and more configurable underneath the hood. You configure it with the CRDs, yes.
Okay.
Essentially, we've created two different personas that we're pursuing with the CRDs. The first persona is for the controller. So think like the platform engineer. And when we think about what a platform engineer would want to do,
Liam, I didn't know if I derailed you to something else or just continuing.
No. I'm just continuing. I think I'm picking up and answering your question.
Yeah.
So the platform engineer wants to do things like just get namespaces, for example, or you'll want to, get services. And what you may not be apparent underneath the hood here now is that while this looks like everything else in Kubernetes, a number of these are now WebAssembly components. And that's very powerful because now they can auto scale up and down. And if we were to, on a longer, let's look at a WebAssembly component then. So I have a component here that I've compiled in advance, and this is actually kind of a chonker. It's almost a 2 meg, but that's still very tiny. And if we actually take a look at this, Wash is the WebAssembly shell. It's the CLI that comes with WASM Cloud. And if we actually look at this, we can see what is the sandbox that this particular component has. You can see here that it has access to I/O, to standard in, standard out, and then file systems. What doesn't it have access to? Things like sockets, things like process control. So it gives us this ability to take these agentic workflows and to lock them down. So one of the utilities that we are working on, it's a plugin for Wash, is one that will take an open API spec and auto-generate an MCP server that compiles to WebAssembly that's already locked down. So it's a huge accelerant in the ecosystem. And I heard on this call that you guys are working on the exact same thing, and I love it. The difference here is that when you compile these in the background, they're very tiny, they scale to 0, and they're locked down much more than what we would get by putting these into containers. So underneath the hood, I won't go through the development experience, but as you're building this, there is essentially like an npm dev workflow where it's rebuilding your component, and developers don't even know that they're working with WebAssembly. The magic happens when it hits the CRD. And what this enables with the new operator and the CRD is full compatibility with all of your existing platform inside Cloud Native. So you can put these templates in the backstage. These are components here that we're running through Argo. They're being compiled, and then they just get deployed like any other software as Kubernetes endpoints that you can manage. So for the two different personas for platform engineers, I now have a way to adopt WebAssembly with my containers using all my existing security control, CNI, OCI, CI, CD, OTel, OIDC. For developers, I have wizards to create applications to run into this ecosystem. And we even include tools like, MCP Inspector, which gives you the ability to come in and take an MCP server and log it and look at, or, develop and play with it. For example, you can come in and inspect tools, use tools. Underneath the hood, we're solving some of the problems around automatically capturing all of the MCP traffic back and forth here. And we have built in things like OpenTelemetry. So one of our default config shows this being, shipping every request and response out. So you can start auditing agentic workflows and things like that. I know that was a lot, but we're excited to get this into the open source and to give folks another cool way to get this out. Any questions?
I have one. You mentioned that something around you taking Swagger and generating the WASM NCP servers.
Yes.
Um, have there's a hot take. I don't know if it's a hot take or not on just taking Swagger as it is and generating translation layer of MCPs. That's not an efficient way. And in Canoe and Cape, and I will do the kudos to Cisco for the many months. Like one thing that we're like golden that we found golden nuggets is generating MCPs in a way that we have a pipeline that we use LLMs to enhance and orchestrate the MCP server and the pipeline also evaluation of that MCP server so we can have feedback on how it can be benchmarked and enhanced. Any thoughts on that pluggability for your WASM pipeline or extensions?
First, I would say that I agree that just doing a like a direct translation of an open API spec to MCP is less than ideal. So 100%. What we're really trying to do is give people a starting point so that they can pick up the concepts and design that they have. And the way that we've structured the project underneath the hood is, you know, every tool that gets generated is its own separate file for easy customization, iteration, and development. So I think that we're completely on board with the sort of lessons learned that you guys have, and generating from there. You know, what we're doing internally with these and with partners is, you know, editing them once we create the scaffolding, just editing them in Cursor and GitHub Copilot. So it's very much a using agentic workflows and LLMs to help us create these and enhance them. What we think is special is, and what we're trying to focus on is, one, securing agentic specific risks with WebAssembly. Two, enabling the auto scaling up and down. And everything outside of that, we're absolutely open to using different workflows to generate templates or iteration or compiling down. And we think putting these examples out and putting it into CNCF WASM Cloud by default just gives platform builders another powerful tool to sort of try to get their host more dense, to have them more secure, to reduce maintenance, et cetera, and the other value props that WASM brings. Did I address all the comments here over in Slack, or folks curious about this?
No, go ahead, Siri.
I have some questions. Adam, I know you came off mute. Did you have any questions?
No, I was just saying, I think I'm probably maybe like the most new to WASM, but I mean, I could definitely see the advantage of what you're talking about the limitations. At least from a sandbox perspective, I can see that being very, very useful. So that's super neat. So I appreciate the time.
Yeah, and thank you for presenting. This is very, very interesting take that I haven't considered. I guess my questions are related to, I think you're kind of moving the direction of identity for MCP servers. There are a couple of projects around, you know, even agent gateway, how you can do basically if you have OAuth scopes and how you can restrict APIs or, you know, MCP tool calls. How do you reconcile with, I think WASM basically completely restricts like file system or other capabilities. I guess you're trying to use the same policy layer for APIs. So can you contrast between that and something like a gateway?
Sure. A gateway is we're compatible with gateways, and on our day-to-day development workflows, we're testing actually with a different local gateway that gives you another layer of security. We're actually focused on the execution. You know, all of the software needs to run somewhere. So what happens before it gets to execution is honestly somewhat arbitrary, and I think that the advantage that we're bringing here is the scale to zero. It's locked down in a sandbox. So from a security perspective, you have really tight control over what your MCP server or other agentic workflow has privileges to do within its system. So things like what we're trying to reduce are things like data exfiltration, other types of overflows like pivoting to secret exposure or something along those lines. You can, decide what WebAssembly has access to from a file system. And in the talk I'll link, we actually show on stage creating a virtual file system for each WebAssembly component. So that would be a technique that you might choose to use here. The use cases and the folks that are behind the scenes that we've been building this with are running hundreds or thousands of MCP servers. So they're really thinking more about what are the impacts to the forest and less about the trees. And any standard, gateway or OAuth approach or filtering that happens along the pipe, we're completely compatible with there.
Yeah, thank that helps answer my question. I have a follow-up, but Carlos, go ahead.
So, Liam, are you open to maybe take a look of what we have? Because I can see our generation tool, it's sitting in Canoe, but it could be a CNCF project, right? The generation targeting today is we generate Python, and then simple Docker file is that target. And we have kind of also CLI, folks are like building shims and CLI. So would you be willing to look at like what we have and see if we just added that touch WASM, and then we also generate your CRDs, or like if you're doing WASM Cloud, then use R2 to generate the NCP server, but you're going to, instead of a Docker container, you're going to run it as a WASM Cloud object, right? And that would be a part of the documentation and tutorials. Like I think that's something that we can work on.
We did actually look at this when we were working on our tool. We did.
Or tell us that we're doing it wrong. Also, like any feedback is good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll I'll have Bailey, who's our CTO, and she's the head of the Bytecode Alliance, a bunch of the workflows and the WASI subgroup for the W3C. I'll have her send over her comments and feedback and pass that to you. Today, one of the reasons why we didn't pick up and contribute here was that Python is honestly not a great experience in WebAssembly. We do have a roadmap. WASI, there's one of the things that we're building up for with WASM Cloud 2 is the next big version of the WebAssembly standards called WASI 0.3 are out. That adds things like sockets, it adds process control and a bunch of other things to the hood. And then we'll have a WASI 3.1 that comes out. We're working on that with Microsoft and a bunch of other folks. Then we can start making Python great. And it's just that Python underneath the hood sort of makes some assumptions about its operational environment. It assumes like shared globals. That's not compatible with our separate sandboxes and things like that. And then the way that they're doing threading, we need to get support for some of the dependencies into WebAssembly. The goal ultimately for WebAssembly is to have binary compatibility so that anything that compiles in POSIX can compile into WebAssembly. And maybe that's early 2027 or end of 2026. But WASI 0.3 is a huge update for us that lets us do things like run complex drivers like the Redis driver or the Postgres SQL driver in WebAssembly, because now we have sockets and things like that. So it's a big step in that direction. And we have a ton of people that want Python, including our commercial customers and Langflow.
And lately more now than before, I can guess.
Right? Yeah. So we know Python's on the target. We actually finished a doc this morning where we prepared the what are the detailed steps to get Python working great. And right now the ecosystem is we're finishing up TypeScript with Node.js compatibility. And then if you're familiar with WinterCG is basically a specification that would make a code that runs on Dino and Node and other runtimes compatible. When we hit that, that should be the end of September. Then we start turning our attention to Python. Python should be even more possible essentially by the end of the year. And then in the first quarter of next year, it would be the engineering effort to go through like pandas and PyWheels and that stuff and just make sure that it all compiles cleanly. So for the Python piece, early 2026.
Yeah, and also there's NCP SDK. Well, there's NCP SDKs for everything, but I think the second one was TypeScript, and also something that we can take a look from the community if they want to help generate all the languages. But right now, we're starting. Go ahead, Siri.
I think you covered. I think I had the questions on how does it work with Python. I think you answered it. I think a collaboration there would be good. I think if we can also eventually elevate the code gen piece to a community CNCF, that would be also wonderful. So yeah, I think just comments, no question. Go ahead, Carlos.
Oh no, that was it. If we get more people like Liam and the community, right, and they like the project, it's better to centralize, because we might be the fourth. Liam might be the fourth person already saying we can convert Swagger to MCP, and if we can like just do it in one place and everybody contributes and reuse code, right? We generate any language and do it in a smart way, right?
Thank you. Thank you everybody for the great questions. And our ultimate plan here is sometime in September is to maybe contribute a plugin to IDP Builder to add CNCF WASM Cloud as
cool.
a deployment flag.
Yeah.
Would be what we would like to do there.
Thank you.
Yep, that's awesome. Thank you for the demo and presentation. We welcome you to join future sessions, and we'll continue the collaboration.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. I've been watching online for a little bit, and I'm in the CNO8 channel and things like that. We really we started this work honestly almost a year ago, the planning, and it just really took a while for us to be ready to release and come share it.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Liam. I think Gaurav is not here, so we will do quick updates. I think from the agentic community, the update. So Arthur did an explanation of like an A2A proxy. He presented this in the Agent Gateway community. It was I think there were some questions on could we consider like K-Agent? That was one of the suggestion, which makes sense. I think K-Agent does very similar pattern of like basically composing an agent without having to like write your own A2A and create a proxy. So there are some thought processes there. We'll continue to attend those community meetings so we can understand where the puck is going. I saw that the project has been donated to Linux Foundation, so that's another interesting development there for Agent Gateway. We're still taking a look at this. I think based on after the workshop bandwidth, having an integration with that in Cape would also benefit the community. So we'll be looking into that as well. Along with we have one implementation of Slim. We should have an implementation that's another reference architecture for Agent Gateway and Agent Identity. Anything to add there from anyone? Any thoughts on Agent Gateway or?
No. I've been using it for certain use cases. In AWS, we have something called Agent Core Gateway. I think Gaurav gave a demo of that here already. But there's some corner cases that is not applicable. For example, this 3 days ago, Agent Core Gateway doesn't target MCP servers, so it doesn't do that MCP multiplexing. And I found the use case from an end user that was trying to use that is building an SRE agent, and it was using the EKS MCP server, but it was trying to access multiple AWS accounts, so it had to run the same MCP server multiple times, configure with different environment variables, and you needed that namespace multiplexing to have a namespace per each one. And I'll share the link, the GitHub. I share with the Agent Gateway community. It was a simple GitHub repo to set it up, but it was like something like specific that Agent Gateway solved the issue of like putting MCP servers, even duplicate of them behind the gateway, and they become unique ones.
Yeah, I think if you can share that, that would be good. There is a pull request that one of the interns was working on to bring in the MCP servers from the AWS labs. I think we also wanted to try to introduce a strands agent. I guess between you and Satish or anyone in the community can take a look at this. It's still work in progress. It's not complete. But the idea is to basically have a strands agent that talks to an MCP server like EKS, MCP, I believe. But I think
my demo uses strands. I put it in the chat. It's
okay.
But the strands is like 3 lines of code. It's not that much strands, but it's exercising the agent gateway configuration with 2 backends. Because examples that they show always is like the different MCP servers, but in this case, it could be the same MCP server, but configured with different in a different way. It could be authentication, it could be environment variables. So you have to have multiple copies of the same one. And the multiplexing actually solved that for me.
So
Yeah.
sorry, real quick, just because this is a use case I'm actually trying to solve already. Did you end up with like, I mean, would this scale to like hundreds of EKS clusters, or would this be something where like you would, I mean, that would be like a lot of MCP servers. I mean, maybe if they're tiny, maybe it doesn't matter. But
Sorry, what's your question, Adam?
well, so in the example you gave, right? So um you're basically saying like having the MCP off to like a specific EKS cluster, right?
No, this was for to specific to an account tied to a
Okay.
profile for authentication, but because of the current version of the EKS MCP server, but I started working with another with Neil. Neil is from the community. Neil and me, we're already looking into like to avoid having multiple copies of it to see if we can create one MCP server that is dynamic enough that it can switch, assume a role as you communicate with different accounts. That's a little bit tricky. That's kind of like the model of
No,
Argo
that's
CD hub
perfect.
and spoke.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, that's exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm glad I
Are you
was.
looking for like that solution, or reach out? I mean, you guess
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm trying to. What we were trying to look into building right now is because we have that exact use case, right? So we have
So
many.
I need customers to pull the service team to do things. So people, DM me and Nail in Slack.
And everybody would probably benefit from that. We all have multiple EKS clusters today.
Yeah.
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 Well, I mean, I think the main takeaway for me is like, right, I would love to use an AWS maintained, right? Like I'd love to use the AWS EKS MCP server, right? I'm going to assume that AWS is going to make the best EKS MCP server
Yep.
rather than mine. So I'd love to use theirs, but then with the multi-account authentication being an issue, it's like, this is really neat.
It's not an issue. So I solved it this weekend, and we're going to improve it later. So that was the thing. But yeah, reach out specifics. I want to capture your specific things. It's just another use case we can document. But anyway, this is not about EKS or AWS, but it was a problem. Like I did a solution, Cluj solution with Python, and I like, man, I don't want to run it, multiple MCP instances in my Python code. I can just put it behind this Rust proxy, and it just worked, right? But it still needs to run multiple instances, which is sucks at scale.
Yeah, thank you, Carlos. In the few minutes we have one item on the roadmap. Just kind of scan over the roadmap. So if you go under the projects page, there is the project roadmap view. So at a high level summary of where we are at is we have multi-agent system that's functional. We can run it with IDP Builder, Docker Compose. Where what we need to do next is integrate with Keycloak and the likes of something like Agent Gateway. Those are the key things. Keycloak is one opinion where the user authenticates, creates a JWT, has scopes in it, and then passes to the A2A, goes to the MCP and authorizes. So all of that middleware that needs to happen, whether it's happening with a gateway implementation or without, those are the two key enhancements we need to do to make it more, even more production ready, enterprise ready.
Yeah, and A2A provides, last time I looked at this was a month or 2 months ago, I think more than that, looking at the A2A source code to figure out the documentation is not there, but the source code is there. Looking at how a A2A server can express what is the authentication requirements, and the A2A client automatically do the flow of OAuth to get that token and then pass it through a header.
Yeah.
It was not easy to figure it out reading the source code. But yeah, that'll be something that then we'll implement, and Keycloak happens to be the IDP.
Yeah.
But if somebody has something working.
Yeah, I've been honest with you. I've been referring, like looking at a lot of Christians' blogs.
Yeah, remember?
Yeah, so there is this. Obviously, these are pure without agent gateway implementations. So that's our
Yeah,
rock
no agent gateway implementation. We need to figure out A2A first, right? And
yeah, exactly. So I think that's kind of the next few weeks of getting auth and auth nailed down here. There is work happening with adding a lot of agents. that can
But
be endless.
go on the other one. Like Cisco is already working on that on Keycloak, OAuth, and A2A authentication.
I think we need help. I think we're
Okay.
definitely still getting. So there could be two tracks here, Carlos. One is implementing with Agent Gateway. That's where we could use help. And there is also just purely taking the Keycloak integration, which comes for free with IDP Builder. You get a Keycloak, or you generate the JWT, like passing the token from the Backstage plugin we wrote, that we open source, to calling an A2A. That's already there. That's pretty, already available functionality. Now, once you receive the token on A2A, writing the middleware and then passing that to the downstream services, there is also another variation where you can scope the token down. There is like an auth flow where you can say, okay, if I'm calling only Argo CD agent, I'm going to go to my auth server and say, give me a token that's scoped down to just Argo CD. So that's a flow. That's not DCR. It's like CIBA or something like that.
Yeah, machine to machine. So you get the first token from the human, and then that human token, you go as a machine to machine different client and request a second token that only has a partial claim or a new claim that only has access for the thing. This is what I was doing 3 months ago, that I was looking at the Cognito A2A, and I got ahead.
We could use help. I mean, this is something I was looking at, but also bandwidth issues. So if there is somebody willing or have bandwidth, certainly, please, let's collaborate. If not, this is kind of
somebody
my
from
list.
Cisco, we can do a session and discuss what you have figured so far, and can share what figured so far. And it's just a matter, not implementation, but we can talk design. Like, what are the patterns that we want to like the tasks, like what the outcome of the architectures we want, right?
Yep. I think that's kind of it hits the big roadmap items. Rest of those are some of those are either done or tasks that are in the background. I think as the community comes along, if someone wants to create a reference implementation for Agent Core, I know there are some capabilities like bring your own MCP that are not quite available. But if someone wants to create like a, hey, I can take Cape and run it in EKS with Agent
And the
Core.
runtime, Agent Core, Gateway runtime you're talking about, or gateway?
So there is a spike for Agent Gateway. We should do that and implement that. And if someone wants to validate Agent Core with MCP, bring your own MCP. I don't know if that capability exists today or not. I guess the question is, can we run Cape in Agent Core?
Yeah,
like
sure.
Yeah, so that would be a validation and a reference implementation.
Yeah, I can run it. Yeah.
So I think
code,
these
right?
are some things.
Strands with Langchain, Curl, you can run any of these languages in Engine Core. The problem, so that one is, so this is like architectural wise and execution. Agent Core runtime is easier because it's just running the agent. Agent Core Gateway is where, like, we don't know what will be the use case. I don't know how it would like be used, because the gateway, what it does is exposes an MCP, and the backend are just Lambda, Swagger, and Smithy. And in our project, we don't have those things to expose, right? We expose enhanced agents or enhanced MCPs.
Yeah, so I think the way I would think of this is, so you run the Cape multi-agent, your MCP servers are hosted in Agent Core, and you are using the multi-agent from that perspective to talk to Agent Core MCP servers, and you use basically the identity that's provided by Agent Core, but still deploy your Cape application in a EKS cluster or somewhere. So you can talk to your Argo CDs. Maybe it's a mix of Agent Core MCP servers that can provide like Jira.
Yeah, we just need to do a diagram architecture. Just a few things that are not supported, right? There's no support for agent gateway to call the MCP service that are running in the runtime, right? So it's just a matter of writing the boxes and the arrows that we want to look at, what those patterns.
Yeah, I think that's a spike available for someone to pick up. last but not least, I think so far what we have done is it's a question and answer multi-agent system, right? We want to get to more of this. This is just an example, like a deep agent that can do a plan. So let's say we ask, go investigate this thing, right? And it can go pull a run book, create a plan, and say, okay, I'm going to do these following steps. That would be another interesting, because we have all the capabilities, we can build a multi-agent, like a deep agent.
Yeah, in Strands, we have, this is launching. I was reading this launching. In Strands, we have the same different algorithms or workflows for multi-agents, but they're in the perspective of different one Python process, and then the agents are objects, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And the thing that I was looking at was,
Meta agent.
can I use trans agent that algorithm, but instead of giving them an object as an agent, but what sits behind is a client to an A2A server, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's supported in here also, but that would be that's the pattern that I was going for.
I think we should explore a couple of these trains of thoughts, but as you brought up roadmap, those are some things. The deep agent is here as a spike. Those are all available to either pick, or when, in Cisco, if we have time after the workshop and others, we'll pick up. But I'll do a better job cleaning this up so that the roadmap is more, the epics are more clearer. I think sometimes we're too much in the forest for the trees. We need to highlight what are the big ticket items. But anyway, that's where we're at, Carlos.
Okay.
We're on time. Any high level things? If not, we can conclude. Any other questions from the community? Alrighty, it's been a wonderful discussion again. Thank you everyone for joining. We will see you next week and share more updates. Thank you.